Welcome back. More breaking news right here on the Robert Scott Bell Show. Mike Adams, the health ranger, is back. And Mike, I was sharing the links to our recent interview just yesterday about Angelina Jolie, the link to the gene patents, the Supreme Court case, and all of the things surrounding the media and the public relations game that we perceive it to be. And suddenly, the YouTube was gone. What happened, Mike?
Well, YouTube censored it. We've uncovered what is clearly a corporate conspiracy to silence any intelligent discussion or debate on the issue of corporate patenting of human genes. Now, just as a quick background for those who might be new to this issue, 20% of your DNA is right now owned by corporations and universities that claim patent monopolies over your genetic code. All right. And that means that 100% of your body, of your DNA, is owned by the US government, whose trademark office, the US Patent and Trademark Office, the PTO, claims the right to assign ownership of your genes to corporations. Now, when you and I attempted to discuss this issue yesterday, YouTube censored it. They pulled it off within just hours after it being posted. And they claimed that we were engaged in a discussion that was, quote, commercially deceptive. That was their excuse.
What were we selling? Nothing.
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 We weren't selling anything.
There was no pornography. There was no. I don't even think we dropped one F-bomb. I mean, you would talk about a clean discussion of an intellectual level of speculation based on our own experience, based on your investigative research and journal. All of these things coming out to discuss an issue in a way that it was not being discussed anywhere else. Who knew that they wanted it discussed nowhere else?
Well, exactly. See, what we were actually exposing something that is commercially deceptive, which is the corporate patenting of human genes. And this is what no one will talk about. And this involves Angelina Jolie, because she is pushing and supporting the BRCA1 gene patent by scaring women into going and getting that testing. Now, those tests cost $3,000 to $4,000 each for each woman, because a company called Myriad Genetics out of Utah owns the patent on the BRCA1 gene, meaning that you have to pay a royalty to them just to test your own genetic code. Now, how insane is that? But when we exposed it, we got censored.
Incredible.
So, yeah, it is incredible, and it is a conspiracy. This is the very definition of a conspiracy. You've got Time magazine now rolling out Angelina on the cover. You've got People magazine already did it. The messages are all the same. The New York Times ran her op-ed. You got the media just falling over themselves to praise Angelina for her choice. Yeah. And they're tricking women into supporting this corporate system of what is ultimately genetic enslavement of women, corporate domination of women, and YouTube is censoring it. And they know what they're doing.
Mike, I did not expect this when we talked about this yesterday. I mean, there are a lot of controversial issues we've discussed and covered over the years on Natural News, on the Robert Scott Bell Show, and very rarely did we see this level of censorship so rapid and immediate, which tends to mean, in my experience, that what you said, we are on to something. There's something that they don't want everyone else to know about.
Yes.
And this has been happening to Alex Jones as well. And thank goodness it's still up at naturalnews.tv, where you can see this and hear this, as well as we air it on the Robert Scott Bell Show each day. These kinds of things, this information that we release and reveal. Now, you said something very horrific, and that is, if they can own 20% of your genes via patent, that means they own 100% of you. This is the same argument, and I say legitimately so, made about this so-called income tax, which is also another third-rail taboo subject. That if they can tax you at a rate of 20%, name the percent, it means they own you 100%. They're allowing you to keep only so much. So this theme is now growing and growing and growing into a further enslaved or slave state status of the people who formerly were of creation. Now they are of government.
Well, right, exactly. That is the really horrifying message in all of this, that the U.S. Patent Office believes it controls 100% of your DNA. Now, here's why this affects women in particular, and this is the message. This is why we're being censored, because we want to empower women with the truth about human rights, women's rights, and reproductive rights. Now, if you think about the act of reproduction, what you're actually doing is replicating your genetic code. you are duplicating your genes. Now, in the music industry, they call that piracy. In the video industry, they call it piracy. And soon, because corporations claim to own your genes, the act of having a child will be condemned as piracy. You will be arrested or fined for having children if you don't pay royalties to these corporations. That's where this is going, Robert. And that's why we all need to be up in arms over this. And we need to stand against the corporate patenting of human genes. It is a violation of human rights, of women's rights, and of natural law.
Well, for anyone who doubts what you're saying, Mike, just look at what's happened with Monsanto and GMO seeds. The very fact of genetic drift, which may have been done intentionally by Monsanto, created a scenario where they went in and sued independent small family farms for stealing their patented property because it ended up in their fields inadvertently or advertently,
Right.
depending on your perspective. So what you're saying is not a stretch. It's not a leap. It's an MO of the GMO industry.
No, this is exactly what they are planning on doing. Yeah, it's very clear. Why else would you patent the genes if you didn't want to control them? The very point of a patent is to have a government-enforced monopoly. If you think about it, every patent is a monopoly. That's the point of patenting, to say no one else can sell this, no one else can commercialize this, no one else can even research this. The fact that these companies have patents on your genes means that you can't even have a test done on your own genetic code without violating U.S. patent law. Now, how frightening is that? And think about this. You've got DNA, obviously, in every cell of your body. So throughout your entire body, every cell is owned in part by corporations and universities, and it is controlled 100% by the government.
Yes, this is the movie Gattaca to some degree come to life. All the science
Absolutely.
fiction warnings that we've seen in Hollywood that portended reality that we are now living in or within. Now, there are messages that we also do. In order to cover the news or uncover the news, we have to really discuss some pretty horrific things, as I mentioned. And yes, we're willing to do that. But also, what is unlike what the other part of the media does, and I will say this, Mike, is that rather than just raise the alarm bells, we also talk about ways out of the morass, the mess. And I was just talking yesterday on the Healing Revolution version of the Robert Scott Bell Show of the idea of opting out, of the freedom to say, hey, I have a religious belief that does not allow you to gain ownership over my body, my children, my DNA, because it's of a far higher place. It originates not from you, not from government, not from the U.S. Patent Office, not from any biotech firm. But there are so many things that have deceived us for so long that I think people have literally forgotten who they are.
And they've forgotten the basics of human rights. Now,
Yes.
this is a fundamental human rights issue, and it is astonishing that YouTube would be against human rights to censor a discussion over this issue. If Martin Luther King were alive today, he would be on our side. He would be joining us in calling for an end to the corporate ownership of human genes. It's a fundamental human rights issue. And if you think about the United Nations, and of course, Angelina Jolie is a spokesperson, a front man for the United Nations in many ways. Why isn't the United Nations saying that it's a fundamental global human right that you own your own genes?
That would be great from a collectivist organization. I won't hold my breath. But YouTube is just fine with glorifying violence in their videos. We've seen that. There's no problem there, and that includes the violence against women that is represented by Angelina Jolie's claim to remove her breast based on this genetic test, which we would dispute even determines that you will get cancer.
Well, exactly. I mean, the idea of removing healthy organs that don't have cancer as a way to prevent cancer, it's ludicrous. It's medically unjustified. And it is exploiting the bodies of women. That's the common thread in all this, Robert, is the exploitation of the bodies of women. That's what corporations are doing with these patents. And you see, you and I, we believe that women should be free. We believe that everyone should be free. It's a universal idea, but especially on this issue of reproductive rights and breast cancer, that women should have the freedom to do what they want with their own bodies and their own DNA. And that no one has a claim to your body. Certainly not a corporation, certainly not a department of the government. You have the right to your body and everything contained in your body. And also think about this. Patents are supposed to be issued for things that people invent. How can this company claim to have invented human genetic code that's been around for hundreds of thousands of years, long before there were even corporations?
Well, what
It's insane.
we've got is a massive alteration of reality, and John Rappaport writes extensively about it. He's been on this show. We feature him in Natural News as well as Robert Scott Bell. Alex Jones covers it. That we've literally accepted a reality that is completely unreal. It's so unreal. It's surreal, but it becomes a reality when we adopt it, and it's mostly done through fear. And case in point, the fear of cancer, the fear of breast cancer, ovarian cancer, uterine cancer. Since we initially covered this story, we're learning that Jolie claims now she's going to go after her ovaries.
Right.
And it's like,
right.
which body part is off limit, Angelina?
Yeah, what else will she have cut out or cut off of her body? And it's not. I mean, this is a valid discussion because she is inspiring other women to follow her because she's a role model to so many women. There might be women out there who are saying, "Hey, I'm going to be like Angelina. I'm going to have my breasts cut off, even though I don't have breast cancer." They might do it even though they don't even have the BRCA gene mutation. They might just say, "This is cool. Let's just start cutting things off because it's cool." That's how manipulated they are. And we want women to be informed and sure, I support a woman's choice, but I want it to be an informed choice. Give her all the options. Let her know what's really going on behind the scenes that the mainstream media won't tell them about and YouTube doesn't want them to know because it's censoring these discussions. In fact, I'm wondering if YouTube will censor this video too.
It may very well, and we'll, of course, make it available, as you will, through naturalnews.tv in case YouTube censors it. But it's patently offensive what they're doing, but what they perceive is that what we are saying and speaking, which is pretty straightforward. We're thinking about things clearly. We're asking questions and simply looking at things.
We're doing a better job than the media, Robert. We are the investigative journalists on this issue. Sorry about interrupting,
No.
We're the only ones asking the questions.
Yeah, but that's, again, patently offensive to the patent makers or claimers of the human genome, of which there is not enough genes to do all the things that they thought initially with the Human Genome Project. But that's a whole other story that, lends us into the arena of epigenetics, which is still completely not discussed. With all the money that Angelina Jolie has, all the access to the top doctors on planet Earth, not one of them even mentioned it once to her, evidently.
Well, and she's not mentioning it to anyone else. I mean, in all of her discussions about this and her op-ed piece in the New York Times, she never gave women other options like vitamin D, which prevents, by the way, 4 out of 5 cases of breast cancer.
Yes.
And women are never told about vitamin D. They're never told about selenium. They're never told about saunas and alternative and holistic therapies, even vitamin C potentiated chemotherapy using microdoses.
Well, let's talk just selenium alone. Look, our friend Jonathan Emord has beaten the FDA, 6 times now, 7 times now in court, and yet the FDA still wants to deny people access to the information that selenium prevents, reverses, mitigates, treats cancer. Yeah. So your government, if it is your government, is not here to protect you. It's here to own, control, and dominate you and profit from that domination via the corporations who have lobbied for special status to gain ownership over all life.
That's it. It's about domination, and it's a corporate fascist system because the government is cooperating with corporations to dominate you, to control the food supply, to control your genetic code, to control your business, your income, everything about you. Fascism is when the government is run by corporations, and there's not a better example than this right here with the patent office granting corporations ownership over your genetic code. Well, that's fascism.
Yeah. Keep it tuned in here to the Robert Scott Bell Show. Keep reading Natural News. The links are up at Natural News Radio as well. And, of course, all the archives are available to you. We will keep following the story. In fact, we're not following it. We're making it. We're breaking it here.
We're breaking the news on this, yes.
But we'll mend it, too, because the place you come for health, freedom, and healing liberty right here, the Robert Scott Bell Show on Natural News Radio with Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, on Natural News as well. I appreciate you being here. We'll keep you updated and stay with us because the power to heal is still yours.